January 27th.
Thank you.
2026, it's 11 a.m. We'll now start our work session. Overview and discussion regarding the Lake County Water and Natural Resources Department, led by Bryce Ulrich, Water Enterprise Program Manager.
All right, well, thank you, board. When I saw Elsa asking a few more questions about the water storage and our progress there, and then there was this block of time today, just a few days away, I figured it would be a good time to come in here, update you guys on where we're at with the water and how we're preparing for the upcoming dry year. There's a lot of considerations. So I just wanted to give you a quick update. I just want to start with an update on our IGA with Aurora. As we've discussed in prior work sessions, that's our most impactful and consequential IGA. It really dictates how we can run our water operations in the county. We needed to do a few changes to that IGA to make the way we work with Aurora and the conditions we work with them in work for the full-fledged enterprise that we are still working on getting implemented. We had a bit of a delay. We had to change water lawyers in the course of
midstream.
Yeah, as I've been working on this. And so as of January 1st, we hired a new water lawyer and they started working right away. And actually just yesterday evening, Matt and I received back some draft IGA documents from them. So Matt and I are gonna review those today. And then there's nothing substantial changes wise based on what I've presented to you, just the small changes we have to make. But what they've done is they've cleaned it up a lot. And they've made it actually a coherent document that we can follow along, and that'll be good for us going forward in the future rather than trying to compile a bunch of terms from prior documents just to get something out the door. Mm-hmm. So once we've reviewed that and we feel like it looks good, then the fun part begins. They start negotiating directly with Aurora's lawyers. And we've told them, that's our priority is to get this across the finish line before building season so that we can have the water enterprise as a tool this year for the building season. And it's also really important just to start realizing some revenue from this water that the county's invested a lot in over the course of 3 decades now. So I just wanted to let you know we're plugging away on that. Really encouraged by how things are going and how fast things are going with our new lawyer. And from what we've heard, talking to everyone around the industry, the firm we selected is very reputable. And they have experience working with Aurora on some more contentious stuff than this should be. So hopefully that plays in our favor and gets this done even quicker. So, but as every decision I'm making right now is with a view on the snowpack. And so if you look at the second page I presented to you, it's just a snapshot of the snow telegraph from today, this morning, looking at the state of the snowpack in the upper Arkansas specifically. So this is Lake and Chaffee counties. This is where our water comes from. I put on, so the black line is us, all right, this is where we are. And I know that the narrative is, oh, well, the snowiest time of the year is still to come. And that's true, but it better snow a foot every day until then to get us to average. Even if it starts snowing a ton, we're not in a position where we can get into a median snowpack by any means. I put the dark green line on here, which is the 2012 water year. Mm-hmm. That's kind of our baseline for, that was the last really bad, low water, dry year we had. You can see we're well below that. We're well below that. The only other year that has worse data that creates that bottom red line is 1981. That was kind of a statistical anomaly. So 2012 is what I'm looking at, that's what I'm comparing at, that's what I'm projecting based on what water was available that year, and we're in an even worse position. That's all to say that I'm also looking at the Mount Massive Golf Course. They're our biggest water user for the water enterprise historically and probably into the near future too. And so, given that we have two sources of water really, we have the firm yield, doesn't change every year, that's delivered by Aurora through their system from the other side of the divide. And we also have the dairy ditch number 3 right up on Mount Elbert. we cannot rely on the dairy ditch number 3 right to come into priority in any meaningful way this summer. If it does, that's almost a bonus. But what I'm doing is trying to really make sure that our existing obligations, the things we know we have to take care of, can be covered by that 40 acre feet or firm yield from Aurora. And then, you know, the contingency water is dairy water. So what we've done with Mount Massive Golf Course, just thinking about how to supply them with water, you know, we know that's an important asset up here. However, they just can't be the only user of our water anymore. And if they were to pump with, you know, no considerations otherwise, they might pump more water than we even have available in our water portfolio. And so this year it's being really we have to be really careful to limit the amount of water they're using, but not just that, but limit it per month. So there's gonna be a monthly pumping limit and an overall season pumping limit. We've tried to give them a really good slug of water out of that firm yield of Aurora IGA water. We just can't give as much as they maybe have used in the past. And so this graph is just showing the first table is really, that's just an engineering calculation we're doing. The second table shows you their historic pumping per year over the last 4 years. So this gives us a good idea of what their average use per month is. Of course, it doesn't account for the availability of natural water, you know, precipitation coming down. But this shows that on average, they're pumping roughly 35 acre feet a year. If we give them, and the depletions is a whole other thing, that's our consumed water. So the depletion amount is what we actually comes out of our firm yield. But basically this is saying that what I'd like to do is give them the ability to pump 25 acre feet of the Aurora water, which is, you know, about 3/4 of their need. And then if the Dairy 3 is in priority, meaning that it's running and we can actually use that water, they can add another additional amount of water pumping per month of that dairy water. And if you look at the monthly limit, if the dairy's in priority and they use their firm yield, it equals actually slightly more than their average total use. So I'm not saying the Dairy 3 water is going to be in priority, we can't rely on it, but if it is, that leaves them essentially whole as they've been every other year. And if Dairy 3 doesn't come into priority or it's not in priority the whole season, they have to cut their water back just like everyone else in the state is going to be doing as well. They're going to have to be more careful with what they're irrigating, how they're irrigating. They might have to invest in system efficiency improvements.
What is the feedback from Mount Massive Golf been thus far? You know, like, have you brought this to them and like?
I have a meeting with them tomorrow, so I wanted to talk about it with you guys first, just to talk about the general situation of why we're kind of thinking this way. But they're already thinking this way too, so they've requested a meeting, and we have a meeting tomorrow at 2:30. I know, I've heard you're on the board.
Yeah.
If you'd like to attend, you're more than welcome. We're meeting in the annex conference room.
Can you send me an invite or
Sure will.
tell me what time it is or something?
Yeah, 2:30 in the annex, but I'll send you the actual invite.
Thank you.
But I'm going to be presenting this exact same information to them. You know, I'm trying to meet them halfway and give them, hopefully they have the same amount of water they've always had that totally meets their needs for irrigating 22 acres of golf course. And they will still have the ability to irrigate a lot of it. However, if we're running out of water, they're gonna start feeling the pinch too. And that's just gonna be, like I said, that's gonna be region-wide, that's gonna be statewide. We're not gonna be in a vacuum in that. There's gonna be a lot of water rights that are.
Yeah, and they're not the only ones getting pinched. You know, what you're trying to do is preserve the water so that there will be at least some trickle going out of the faucet for longer, instead of just us hitting a hard wall in July.
That's right.
It's like, okay, you're gonna have dead grass rot, so.
That's right.
You know, I think you guys share common interests, and I think you'll be able to express that to them, that what you're doing is, you know, mutually beneficial.
And I think in consideration of those new constraints they're gonna have, and we're all learning, and you know, I'm also working on finding them other sources of water that we need to develop to reduce their need of augmentation water, which is our most versatile water. I think I would like to look at the cost. Last year they paid.
I need to talk to you. Yeah. Because I just had a meeting with Jeremiah.
Who's Daniel?
Yeah, I have
There's a mute
Yeah.
right there.
Sorry. Stan fired.
Last year, we charged them $22,950. I think if this year, if I bump everything up to the market rate, which is kind of what Pueblo charges, it's $29,750. So we're talking about $7,000 here. And I just wanted your feedback on consideration for that. Like, I had planned to gradually stair step them up to a market rate pricing, which is still pretty affordable at $850 an acre foot. But given that they're gonna be working with us to coordinate this year, just wanted to talk about potential cost.
Well, but we wouldn't be charging them for the full amount, right? If we go up to 29,000,
We charge them a lease fee whether they use it all or not.
got it.
Yeah, and so that's the, we're giving them 35 acre feet, whether they use it or not. We have to allocate for that. So it's,
But this year we're proposing less than 35 acre feet.
no, in the past, we've given them 34 acre feet plus 10. We've given them the entirety of the dairy ditch yield, which is usually 4 acre feet on an average year.
Yeah.
Plus 10 acre feet of the firm yield.
Oh, we're doing
Because I
very
can't
much.
rely on that firm yield, I'm proposing giving them,
Yeah. Yeah.
more of the firm yield, less of the dairy. But,
Okay.
but I was also thinking about, if we ramp up their cost, that would take it to $29,750, $7,000 more than it was last year.
What's the yield out of the dairy on a typical year?
Average year is 34 acre feet.
34.
And we were looking, and that's an average year over 20 years, but our dry year yield is much, much less, right? And so we're talking, the only years we can compare it to are 2002, 2012, and maybe 2018. But that's, just like when we were looking at the water rights on Lake Fork Ranch, the value is defined based on what it yields on the driest year. That's your firm yield.
Are they gonna be able to absorb that 7,000 or?
Last year, their water cost doubled, and they were able to absorb that with a $1 green fee increase. So I think so, but I think I wanna get into a little bit further discussion. Even if they were to find another source of water, that's gonna cost a lot more. And so they're in a position where they're gonna have to start coming up to market for water wherever they get it. If we even pay for the development of the Parkville owned water right, Parkville's still gonna charge them something close to this per acre foot.
850 an acre
That's,
is the market rate.
that's what Titan Gold pays and that's what everyone else pays. The Barn Pond folks pay less because they got theirs through an auction system, so it wasn't as guaranteed. And in return, there was no bidders, and so they got it way cheaper than that. But that's you come to them demanding, I need this much water, that's what they charge.
Remind me how Parkville Water would help get them water in their system?
So in 1988, there was a water court decree, so it's already decreed. A portion of the Moyer Ranch, right there at the turnoff of County Road, I can't remember what that is, but
5A.
yeah. But no, the one Moyer Ranch, so down towards Hayden Meadows.
Yeah.
Portion of that got dried up. And in return, that dried up water can be used out of Empire Gulch, can be transferred up to the Delap Ditch, which then irrigates the golf course with that same amount of water. That water right has never been developed, even though it was paid for mostly by the county, some Parkville in the 80s. So the Delap Ditch is not in a condition to convey water, and the Empire Gulch instrumentation is not installed. So I actually met with Greg Teeter last week to talk about how we can get this thing going.
That's what you're talking about in that's the infrastructure you're talking about?
There's several infrastructure needs, but this one is the low hanging fruit, I feel like. So Parkville has the flume that they'll just give us. we would need to contribute the in-kind machinery and labor costs to install the flume, so it's a public works discussion. We install that flume, we relocate another flume on Empire Gulch, and then we install some telemetry, which I hear there might be grant funding from the state, but it would be $5,000 roughly to install the telemetry. And that allows us to measure the diversion. That allows us to measure the Empire Gulch water, which we can then transfer to the golf course. At the end of this month, I have a meeting with my civil engineer to talk about, he's gonna have some initial cost estimates about what it's gonna take to make the DeLap ditch usable again. Because if we can't use the DeLap ditch and if we can't rehabilitate the DeLap ditch, we can't utilize this water right that Parkville has without going back to court, and that's a whole other discussion. So this one, because Parkville already has the flume, if it makes sense, we can, there's a potential that this fall we can do the Empire Gulch work. And then next month, I will have better information on what it's gonna take to fix up the DeLap ditch.
Okay.
I would hope that since it's serving the golf course and it's Parkville water they're gonna make money on, and yeah, the county benefits from it because we save og water, I would hope that all three of those entities would contribute financially to this project. I don't think it should be just on the county, given it's not our water we're gonna be making real, and it's, we're gonna save all that og water, which is a huge financial benefit to us, but it's still, we're developing someone else's water right for their benefit. So that's just something I want on your radar. I talked to Michael Irwin about it. I kind of gave him the designs that Greg had given me, so it's something we can consider a little bit more. I don't think it would take too much financial cost on the county besides the in-kind, paying for the public works hours. But if they have that time, it would have to take place in the late fall, after the water is basically out of the stream before the snow starts, so October. This October would have been great, because we had great weather.
Or November, or December.
Or, I call this winter the October that never ended. So yeah, that's just something that's on the radar because I'm looking at any and every way to get the golf course different water. And if we can develop a water right that has already been through court, we don't need to re-adjudicate, we're not injuring anybody by putting it into place, we're literally just freeing up water for our enterprise to use elsewhere.
Where does that water go currently? Where the diversion would pull it?
It just goes it runs for about a couple hundred yards and goes into the Arkansas, right there at the Moyer Ranch site.
So just to clarify, Bryce, whose water right is it?
Parkville.
Okay, thank you.
And I think the origin is, it was the county contributing because we didn't have any water for the golf course at that time in the 80s, and we still owned it, we still wanted something.
So the benefit would be to get the water from Parkville. You're trying to find water for the golf course that would not be taking more from the water rights that the enterprise manages.
Right.
Okay.
Because irrigation water is irrigation water. It's supposed to go under the grass, and some of it goes into the soil and some of it goes into the grass itself. But augmentation water is the most versatile. We can use it for anything, including irrigation. That's probably the lowest benefit use. So having an irrigation right, it's like, well, that water can't be used for anything besides irrigating grass anyways.
Right.
So let's put it towards where it's most efficient to use it.
And the DeLap ditch would only be used for irrigation.
That's right.
Yeah.
Are they in danger of abandonment if they don't put it to use?
Yes, the entire DeLap ditch right is. The entire DeLap ditch right was on the abandonment list last time. And so it happens every 10 years. And it was on the abandonment list, and the state actually did a favor at that time, and we basically ran the DeLap and flooded the campground to prove that we had used that ditch right so we didn't lose it, and it got off the abandonment list.
That's why we did that.
Yeah, but it needs to be used at least once every 10 years, but realistically more than that. That was just the bare minimum, so it didn't go away.
So Bryce, so you think that in February you'll have some numbers for us about like what it would the total it would cost, and then
Yeah,
from
that's
there
right.
we can go to see who would be willing to be partners with us and paying for it.
Yeah, I think the cost estimate is gonna be our first one, cause then we can make an analysis of like, is it worth to go fix the DeLat? Or should we be folding this into a larger court application?
Okay,
And
yeah,
we
yeah.
can, in that court application, we could change the point of diversion from the DeLap headgate to the DeLap well that the golf course currently uses to pump our hog water out, right? And so we just skip 1 or so miles of ditch. We'd still have to pay for the transit losses on that ditch. It wouldn't be perfect, but it would be, it could be more efficient.
You also said it would be very expensive.
And that goes into, I wanna talk a little bit more about the infrastructure needs, cause we have the DeLap ditch, which isn't usable. We also have the upper river ditch, and the upper river ditch is what feeds the Hayden Pond. So it comes directly from the main stem of the Arkansas, it goes actually around the railroad tracks there. There's I think it's called the Kern property down there on County Road 10 by the flyover. That is the upper river ditch. It controls everything going into Hayden, which we need to have functional to use Hayden for storage. We have to be able to measure water going in and out of Hayden to use it anyway, but especially if we're gonna be coordinating with Aurora like this. And there's some real big barriers to that. The first one is the beavers, just the physical beavers in the ditch. It runs really low gradient. It's a perfect, beavers love it. And so we need to find a way, you're not allowed to exterminate them anymore. There are state programs available to relocate them. And we even heard about in some other places, like some really good places that they want them relocated to. But it's a whole process through CPW. We would have to pay to trap them. They have to go to Monte Vista to be quarantined, and then they get hopefully put back in Twin Lakes area. So the beavers have to get rid of because otherwise we're beating our head against the wall, or we have to find some sort of solution for them. And then the other big one is the ditch system is designed so that only the amount of water that's supposed to go into Hayden goes through the flow gate, and the rest goes through a waste gate. And that waste gate goes underneath the railroad tracks, and it is so clogged up, it scares me even looking at it. I wouldn't get near it, because if you fall in, you're gonna be part of the clog. And there's no way to get rid of that clog without Union Pacific allowing us on their tracks, because it's underneath the railroad tracks. And they are incredibly hard to get a hold of. When I was talking to Michael about this last week or two, Gary Slivka says he might have a good contact, so we're gonna try.
I have somebody that I talked to a couple weeks ago.
And that was what I said, is I said, maybe Matt can write the right kind of letter.
Yeah, I talked to the real estate person a few weeks ago, and this issue we were dealing with, yeah.
Great, so those are the two elements we need to figure out. So we can't get Hayden as a storage vessel this summer. We're gonna have to figure that out, and my goal is spring 2027, we're ready to operate it.
Because it takes so long to relocate the beavers, you think, is the big part of it, that we won't have it this summer?
That's right. Yeah.
Are you allowed to destroy their dams?
Yeah, they just rebuild them so
Yeah, and
fast.
I'm down there, and especially in the fall when they start getting real uppity, I'm down there every day or two clearing out the beaver dams that they start forming in our ditch infrastructure. And like, you can go anywhere else, the river's right there, but I want you out of the ditch. And so I'm down there all the time clearing it out, and that's, to this point, that's all we can do, is just be more aggressive than them. But I don't think it's long term.
They're busy.
Well, and just, that's gonna be a lot of money too, to have a mini X down there every week. And that's what it takes right now, is a mini X goes down there every spring, and clears it out to get it going. So, something we need to think about. It's a piece of infrastructure. Mike Conlon's real hot to trot on this, because we are mandated to maintain it, and we are out of compliance on our maintenance of it because of the way the water's flowing, so. That's not a huge deal now, but it will be.
Are there any other identified nearby beaver populations that would maybe move right in and take over once?
Yeah, I think absolutely, there's that, I mean, right around Hayden Meadows, the river slows down and starts bending, and that's where they came from originally.
Yeah.
And if we relocate these to a different part of the county, then it's a beaver mitigation. How do we keep them out? And then but it's a lot easier if I'm down there, I don't know, or our crew is down there a lot trying to stay ahead of it, it will always be a problem. There's just no way around it, that's the nature of low gradient streams and ditches and where we live, right? It's part of our environment, so, but we're past the point, you know, we're past that deferred maintenance point where it's gonna take some bigger work to get it functional. And we have to have that functional, and I really do, I wanna fold that in, it's just, if we can anticipate it, it needs to be part of the enterprise's budget, for sure. But if we get Hayden operational as a storage vessel, not only do we get to use it for storage, so we get to bank water year to year, but Aurora will pay the evaporative loss of whatever percentage of water they have in. Right now, we pay 17 acre feet out of our 40 acre feet a year just on evaporative loss out of Hayden. So even if Aurora stores 50% of the water in there per year, that's huge, you know? That's 8.5 acre feet we get back firmly into the enterprise.
So, can you just reiterate, why is Hayden not available this summer? Is it mainly the clog, or is it mainly the beavers?
It's because we cannot measure the flow coming into and out of Hayden.
And that's because
Because of the clogs, yep.
the clogs.
I think the beavers we could probably get rid of, the clog
Right.
is a bigger deal.
And if we can get the clog sorted though, like anytime this summer, wouldn't we be able to start tracking how much is going in there?
We might, I think when we get this figured out, then it's gonna be going down there with the civil engineers and just looking at the state of the infrastructure to make sure that because what's happened in the meantime is like, the flow intake structure is actually like sitting out above the stream of the ditch because of the way the beavers have made.
And this is all underneath the train tracks.
It's, yeah, it's near the train tracks, but there's this property, you know, you take this road and there's a house right here.
Yeah.
He's got a big set of lakes next to him, so they like it, but those are not supposed to be there, that's our ditch. And it's supposed to just parallel the railroad right there.
Is that like a private trout club right there or something?
That's the Kern Ranch, the trout club is over here.
Not the.
Oh, you're talking about Rolling J, Rolling J is
one.
further upstream.
Okay.
And the Kerns, they know, I mean, they deal with public works all the time, like, they have a ditch on their land, we have private property rights that supersede theirs.
So we basically, we need to figure out how to get in touch with Union Pacific to figure out how to start even
That's right.
identifying what we need to do to address the clog with the gauging station or whatever, so that we can measure.
If we clear out the waste gate, then we could actually like address the other parts, because the excess flow would be going where it needs to go rather than directly into the ditch system.
And the first step is talking to Union Pacific.
That's right, Union Pacific, and then, Michael says he has a contact with CPW.
Freaking, I've been in so many meetings last year talking about beavers. And I was like, oh my god, I didn't get it till literally today. So
I
it
know,
finally come home to roost.
And there's,
I couldn't figure out what it was. Shucks.
so, that's all to say, that's our water storage vessel, that's the one that's decreed, that's the one we can use, that's the one we need to figure out a way to use, cause it's kind of a essential key. We can run the enterprise without it, but man, it would make things better. To be able to bank some water year to year, so we could actually maximize our yields and not waste that water,
Yeah.
would be huge.
Where will the enterprise be at without that this year? Like how many acre feet are we gonna be potentially activating? 3, okay.
That's what we have as safely left for ourselves is 3 acre feet, but that's 30 augmentation units, right? And so that's significant. It's enough for me. It's more than I need to like make my budget square out, but it's still pretty small.
How does that math work, like 3 acre feet
Because each,
at market rate being 850 and.
that's right. That's the difference between irrigation and augmentation.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
So if you wanna irrigate it and you don't wanna own it, $850 an acre foot.
Gotcha.
Because we can own this water and divide it up into 1/10 of an acre foot units and sell those to offset wells, that's where that 10 augmentation units per acre foot comes from.
Yeah, it's like subdividing giant lots of land into sellable
Yeah.
parcels that are worth more.
Yeah, and this is the most efficient use of our limited water, right? We can stretch it towards maximum benefit this way. And because we charge, the enterprise is gonna charge $9,000 for inclusion in each of those augmentation units. So $90,000 versus $850, you can see the.
But the 90's a one-time,
90 is one, but
but it's
you
still,
get the one-time inclusion fee, but then there's gonna be a $700 per year O&M fee on top of that.
there's
So-
your, how you're refilling the
That's
cup.
right, so like the enterprise, I've designed it so that the inclusion fees as we sell or contract the water out initially pay for the startup costs, pay for maybe hopefully some infrastructure. Eventually, once most of the water is contracted out, the O&M fees are designed to pay for the self-sustaining finances of the enterprise.
So what, you said that like you proposed a smaller amount of water to go to the golf course, 25 acre feet. But you said we have 40 reliable from Aurora. So where are the other 15?
Hayden is most of that.
Okay,
So with Hayden, if the golf course pumps 25 acre feet,
yeah,
their consumptive use is 18 and a half acre feet.
okay,
That's what comes out of our firm yield.
got it,
So 18, we're saying 18 and a half comes there, 17 for Hayden, that leaves us 4.5 acre feet.
got it,
I want some wiggle room,
yep,
so 3 is what we can say, that gives us 1.5 acre feet if something weird happens and we need that water.
okay,
Especially our first year, we're learning how the enterprise is gonna work. And
yeah,
we got all these complications with how we're running water down at Twin Lakes now, and
yeah,
that buffer is gonna be important. It's a very small buffer, but it's something.
okay,
And then, that's the thing, any dairy 3 water we get above and beyond that, that's a bonus.
yeah,
But if we could store that dairy 3 water, then we could
yeah,
account for, we could build it into next year, we just can't right now.
okay,
So we have to use that firm field, because we know we're gonna get it. And, everything else would be bonus, but if we can't use it, it's gone.
Okay.
So, yeah, that's really important to get that storage up and running. The other thing, I know we had talked about, the barn pond system
yeah,
and the potential to use the barn pond system for storage.
mm-hmm,
We met with the barn pond engineers, I think it was 2 weeks ago now, just because they're in dry mode too. They're looking, they had some problems last year. Basically, we're the most senior water right and we're above them. And so if we fully utilize our water right, it creates problems for them. It creates constraints.
mm-hmm,
And it maybe jeopardizes their ability to have flow every single day. I don't see a way around that this year. They have enough water that they've leased from Pueblo that they're gonna be fine for this year and probably next year. But we need to start thinking about if we wanna do something down there, it's gonna be a pretty intense operation.
Mhm.
The biggest thing about it is that the augmentation, so the groundwater and transit loss of the Barrier Creek Barn Pond system is over 3 acre feet a year. And they only store maybe a 1/2 acre foot to 1 acre foot. So it doesn't make sense on a water storage perspective to make them into storage. Because it's a loss. It's always gonna be a loss. We'll never be able to do that. So, but recognizing the community benefit down there and everything, we presently do not have the ability to serve that pond system. But the Friends of Barrier Creek have a source of water, but they don't have the permanence that the augmentation plan does.
mm-hmm,
So how do we make them part of the enterprise?
mm-hmm,
How do we make this work? And my theory is it's gonna take contribution from them on their side too.
mm-hmm,
If we're gonna run the plan for them, if we're gonna make sure everything is good and give it permanence, we need either financial contribution or contribution in the form of water.
mm-hmm,
And so my thought on that is that there's a minimum amount of leased water from Pueblo, which is more than they need, but it's still not that much more. And so what if the Friends of Barrier Creek they just paid for that perpetual lease of the bare minimum of Pueblo water. That's their in-kind contribution, is they pay for, we'll say 10 acre feet of Pueblo water. We run the plan for them, we pay for their 3 to 4 acre feet of transit loss and whatever to keep the system whole. We get the storage a little tiny bit, they get the fire suppression benefit. And then we also have a little bit of water extra from there to cover for a reserve, contingency, build it into our plan, whatever it might be. But the thing is, regardless of what we do down there, it's gonna go back to court. It has to. Any permanent solution down there will go back to court. And because of this is an augmentation problem, anytime you raise the word augmentation in the Arkansas, it's a dirty word and we can expect significant opposition. So it just means our court case is gonna be more expensive and take longer. And so we need to think about, my suggestion is that we have many different needs of the enterprise. If we're gonna go back to court, let's make it worth our while. Let's, there's no danger to these ponds being used for fire suppression.
Right.
In the meantime, they have a legal supply of water for at least 3 more years.
Yeah.
And it's gonna take us probably 2 to 3 years to get through court, whatever we decide to do. So I wanna wrap up a bunch of these concerns we have and maybe other sources of water into one court application, so that when we go and we fight all the other entities, because they're gonna come out against us because we're proposing more augmentation in the upper Arkansas. We have not just the Friends of Twin Lakes and the Barrier Pond or Barrier Creek Barn Pond benefit, but we get all these other added benefits for the enterprise going forward too. And I'm talking like, let's have a 20-year, 30-year lens on this, because it's so expensive and hard. Let's not do it again. So let's make it the right set of moves. And I think we can wrap this all together. We can get some grant funding maybe, especially for the preliminary engineering, because it's gonna take some really intense engineering studies. But because we have Aurora, Parkville, the golf course, Friends of Barrier Creek, there's so many different partners that are interested in this. That's what the state wants to see now when they're giving out grant funding, right? Is that more than one party is benefiting. So I think there's a good case for grant funding there, but we're still gonna have to front the legal fees.
And
So
Bryce,
it's-
I'd want it written out, like how much, like anticipated,
Oh,
how
for
much
sure.
it
And I
would
mean, I
cost
think-
and how long and how much benefit we would get and,
Yeah.
return on investment, just FYI.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay, great.
Absolutely, we need to do this, and I think that's where, my suggestion, or what I'm feeling is we get the enterprise going, we gotta get it going, get it up and running, we run it for a year. And as we learn, and as we're operating, we're also learning about more opportunities. Meeting with Greg last week, I learned about another source of water that might be available to us with a court decree that I never would have even considered if I didn't meet with him. And it's because we're making progress on our plan that he can start thinking about how his needs meet our needs, and if he has extra water and can make some money and we can benefit from it and it makes money, financial sense for us too, why not?
Yeah,
But we gotta think about what does make sense.
Yeah.
Is it a minimum lease with Pueblo? Is it engaging with Parkville in a much more substantial way to utilize some of their underutilized water rights? I mean, that's the new idea I had,
right, could we just take the commission
or
and sell their shit?
could
their
we
stuff.
engage in a
Right.
long-term lease, right? Like we lease Parkville water long-term and we pay for it.
Yeah.
And then once we have it, then we can divide it up, contract it out, sell
Yeah,
it, whatever. That's an option. And then there's the dilap ditch and the point of diversion considerations, and it's not just the barn pond, if we're gonna look down there, I'd like to look at a few more potential storage vessels that have been identified. And
The barn pond's the series of beaver ponds across the street from the Twin Lakes Roadhouse, right?
that's right, but what I've started referring to it as the Barrier Creek system, because the entire system from the point of diversion over on West Bartlett Gulch on Angelview, or near Angelview, that entire system has to be augmented, including the Markham Pond and the Barn Pond and the entire wetland system. And so that's where like the fire suppression pond designation doesn't quite solve it because the ditch system is still artificial.
Yeah.
That still needs to be accounted for.
So getting this court case together sounds complicated and time consuming. Is there risk at the end where they say, this is a great plan, but no?
I think that's where the engineering and legal analysis on the front end is gonna be really important. But I also think it's about, and a lot of my ideas come straight from Rachel Zancanella, division engineer, right? Like, she's helping us, she wants, solving these problems will help her too.
She's fabulous, fabulous.
Yeah, so I will have a good sense of what's viable and what's not, but it's also a matter of like asking for so much so that if parts of it get taken away in objection opposition, we're still left with a lot of benefit. I think that's more of the strategy is, okay, we know this is gonna go and we might, let's build ourselves in some wiggle room on what to give to get to our core objective.
Bryce, can I ask you a question about the 3 acre feet that's gonna be available? Could someone, you're gonna have what, well, first of all, what do you call them exactly? Those little shares, people are gonna use them for a dry lot or an ADU, right?
Augmentation units.
Okay. And could someone go buy them all?
No.
Someone would have to go to the building department and say, this is what I wanna do, can I buy an augmentation unit?
So,
And will they become more valuable over time? Like if someone has an ADU with an augmentation share, would that be that would obviously make the property more valuable.
it will, absolutely, it would, cause it has another dwelling unit that's legal on it. If we run out of water, then eventually, any property, and you can't get an augmentation unit from the enterprise anymore, then any existing augmentation unit will be more expensive or more valuable.
For resale.
Yeah, but that's my goal, is that we roll this out slow enough that the enterprise pays for itself, but also gives itself some runway to develop some future water rights.
And is it first come, first serve, or is it?
It's gonna be first come, first serve. So there's several, in the water marketing policy, there's a lot of concerns about like what you're talking about, like speculation, someone buying all of them. There's a lot of safeguards that prevent that. So there's a maximum amount I can sell every year. I think it might be under 30 for the first few years as we're getting our feet under us. There's also a maximum amount of augmentation units you can apply for on any given application. And so for like a commercial campground, for instance, you're only allowed to go up to 6 augmentation units on your application. If you're coming in for a home, you're limited to 3 augmentation units on your parcel, one of which is reserved for an ADU. The other 2 you can use for either a large house or a house and a livestock well. And then, if you were to do we got a lot of interested people, oh cool, now I can subdivide this parcel and make 5 different parcels with houses on it. So you can only subdivide a parcel in 2, and each of those 2 parcels you created is allowed 3. So still that's 6 maximum on any one land use application. And
So it
then
has to be tied to a land use application, you can't pre-buy it.
that's right, it has to be tied to a land use application, and there's also a time limit when you have to put that into use. Like you have to get your CO within 2 years, say, of getting the permission. That's a whole discussion for another day. We might have to think about that because
What about leasing? I thought a lot of this was gonna be actually leasing and not selling. Where is that?
so leasing is basically everything else. That's the year-to-year stuff. That's the golf course stuff. That's
Yeah.
anything we have left over, but the
Yeah.
golf course is the big lease.
Okay.
And that's the difference between contract and
Yeah.
lease.
Yeah.
Leases can change based on the water conditions. It's gonna change year to year. When we contract something, it's firm, it is set.
Mm-hmm.
We're never gonna go back to a house with a contract and say, actually, you don't have water this year. It just, you can't run it that way.
But, okay, so if we, say we clear all of the water getting into Hayden Meadows, great. So then we've got you can run the enterprise for 5 years, selling 30 every year. Whatever the math is. after that though, once all of those are sold, or like if it gets clogged again, like what happens to the enterprise? Because we're not getting any more income from all that water that we sold, but we still have this infrastructure that we have to maintain.
That's where the O&M fee, that's the yearly O&M fee.
Got it, okay.
Yeah, yeah, so it's meant to be like, the
Got it.
inclusion fee is your tap fee.
Yep.
Your O&M
yeah.
fee is your rate.
So there will be a
Thank you.
finite amount.
There will eventually be a finite amount. We're gonna,
It's like 1,200 based on what we have now, right?
I would
40
yeah,
acre
maybe.
feet.
Yeah,
1,600.
it's really, I mean, that gets into the realm of theory because we'd have to
Sure.
start making a bunch of efficiency improvements, and if we get the golf course off, then I mean,
Yeah,
then we're talking, the enterprise allocation goes up to 20 firm every year,
yeah,
you know? So it can expand really easily, and then with that water sharing agreement in Hayden, we glean off 8 more acre feet there, and so there's an ability, especially with storage, of good yield water, or good years, if we can store that water, we could eventually maybe build the enterprise up to having 40 acre feet. That's still pretty limited, that still only means, you know, we're not like entertaining, you know, hay irrigation or anything, but it's a lot more than we have now, and then that would give us a lot of capital to then. That's my whole goal is, yeah, we have to get this up and running, but we still have to always be looking to build more capacity.
yeah,
Somehow, some way, more efficiency here, yes, but we need more water too. Us and everyone else in the state.
Did you say Parkville would be party to the court case? Or no?
They might be, that's a realm of, that's just a very preliminary, like, hey, I might have this water, I'm not using it right now, think about it. It would be for our benefit, so I doubt, it would be mostly on us for sure.
Cause all they're set, and
They're set,
their old water rights, they have more than they can ever use.
yeah, that's right, and they have a really good rate paying base now too, to keep investing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's, you know, there's some potential there and I'm really excited about it. I don't wanna get too ahead of myself though, cause it's so new. But like that could be, I mean, that's water that's here. That's really old and senior. And yeah, we'd have to take it to court ourselves on a long-term lease basis, but still the water's here. You know? It's really exciting. We're not talking about like having Aurora ship more water in under the tunnels or anything.
thank you, Bryce,
Yeah, thank you, guys.
I appreciate that update.
Yeah, so I think, I just wanna lay the point that, you know, I think I have it in my capacity to run the enterprise right now as is. We can make some efficiency improvements to get that Hayden going and everything for very little money. But if we wanna entertain these bigger projects like the Barrier Creek system and everything, it's gonna be a much bigger investment and timeline.
Bryce, I know this is little, but if you have some sort of schedule of people going down to break up the beaver ponds, I will happily get on that.
Absolutely, I'm gonna be teaching Rachel on campus about it in the spring, so.
Yes, please,
come
can I
on,
be on that
come on
workshop?
out.
Cooking
Ours.
yourself?
He's going on
Dynamite.
vacation, so we'll be covering it.
Yeah.
I've heard some wild stories around the state about what people do with beaver
A
dams.
beaver, yeah, it's really wild.
Explosives, bulldozers.
Yeah, I mean, the old school, like,
Many a
if
good explosive.
30 years ago, I would have been camping out at the ditch with my 22 and would have been okay, but can't do that, so. There's some new programs we've heard about.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you, Bryce.
Yeah, let me know if you have any other questions about the details or whatever, I can update you
Okay.
anytime you want.
So are you looking, the memo said you're looking for direction or direction from staff?
Oh, sorry, it was just staff direction, like direction to me
Oh.
on, maybe I misinterpreted that. Just mainly on if you're comfortable with what I proposed for the golf course lease,
Sounds good to me.
and just the general investment timeline considerations about the storage stuff.
Yeah, I think you're doing a great job. Thank you.
Yes,
Thank you. And hopefully this changes.
that's really wild.
There's a year in
wanted
like
to
1984, if you look at it, it's like this, and then just an incredible monster spring, that's what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I keep wanting to say that in every one of these conversations, like second half of February to the end of April, we could see 80 to 100 inches and
Is
pair
there,
that with a,
isn't there a website that has historical?
Yeah, so this is, I can send you the link, cause I look at it every day. This
What's it
is
called?
the Colorado Snowtel website.
Snowtel.
You can look at it major basins, Arkansas wide, you can look at it minor, so this is just upper arc, you can look at lower arc.
But it's only been going since the 80s.
1981 is when the data starts.
accurate data. They
Accurate.
had stations previously, it just it didn't get dialed until the 80s.
Do I need to call for a motion to adjourn?
Yeah, it's a work session.
Okay.
You just close us.
Everybody all set?
Yeah, thank you.
It's 11:52. This meeting with Bryce Ulrich is adjourned.
Thank you, Chair.
Chair?
Works.